If you wanted to start your Ducati journey, the Scrambler has been the go-to option for lakhs of bikers across the world, and it has been a great success story for the Italian brand. What we are riding today is not a affordable variant, but more of a premium variant of the Scrambler called the Nightshift. So in this video, let's find out what we liked and disliked about the new Ducati Scrambler Nightshift. It is said that you first fall in love with a Ducati even before riding it because of its styling, and I think that is true for the new Scrambler as well. Agreed, it doesn't have the sensuous curves of the Ducati Monster or the brashness and in-your-face styling of the Panigale, but the Scrambler with its simple lines and clean styling looks very distinct and cool. Especially for a motorcycle design which is almost a decade old, the Scrambler still looks nice. What we are riding is the Nightshift edition, and on this motorcycle you get a proper classic round LED headlight. It gets this X marking. There are split LED DRLs at the front. I'm a particularly big fan of this small bullet type indicators, looks very cool. The mudguard is chopped, has the spoke wheels to give it a retro vibe. And moving forward, you have this classic teardrop shaped fuel tank and the tank extensions to give it a very mass forward design language and good presence. Moving forward, you can also see two cafe racer design elements in the center panel and the bench seat. The bench seat also gets a nice dark brown finish with some ribbing. Looks very cool and classic. The tail section is very clean. There's not much happening at the back, so it's very neat and clean and tidy over there. A special mention has to be done for the way the exhaust pipes have been routed. Even they have an aesthetic vibe. The exhaust muffler is small but goes well with the overall styling. So in terms of the whole presence of the motorcycle, it looks good. This is the Nightshift edition, so gets a special Nebula Blue color. It's a very dark shade of blue which shifts color depending on the light. Again, a very cool edition. What Ducati has introduced now is an emerald green on the Nightshift edition. Again, a very different and distinct color option from Ducati, because normally you associate red with Ducati. And the Nightshift has a bit of a retro vibe going for it. I think the overall styling is retro, cool and chill. Underneath that pretty face lies a proper Ducati soul, and this L-twin engine packs a punch. Yes, the numbers are humble by modern motorcycle standards, but this Ducati Scrambler shoots off the line and gives you a thrilling acceleration. In fact, it also has a tendency of saluting the tarmac if you're not very careful with the throttle. In a modern world of motorcycles which are filled to the brim with electronic aids, the Ducati Scrambler keeps things simple, as there is traction control which has different levels and can be switched off, and there's just cornering ABS. So the acceleration of the Ducati Scrambler will keep you engaged and thrilling, and the vibe of that engine is very analog and mechanical, something which is very rare with modern motorcycles. My only grouse is that the exhaust note is a bit muted, but the main culprit for that is the modern emission norms. So the overall performance of the Scrambler, fun, engaging and thrilling. One of the key aspects for the success of the Ducati Scrambler over the years has been how approachable and easy the motorcycle has been, and over the years Ducati engineers have refined it further. Like even on the Scrambler Nightshift, the first thing that you like is how easy to use it is, because the way you sit on the motorcycle. The seat height is very accessible at 795 mm. As you can see, I can easily flat foot. I am 5'10" tall, weigh around 100 kg. So even for shorter riders, the motorcycle, the seat height doesn't feel a bit daunting. The handlebar is very nice and flat, but it is positioned lower. The foot peg is also slightly rear set, so the riding posture, as you can see, is upright and comfortable, but because the handlebar position is a bit low, so you cant forward a bit, but the overall riding dynamics of the motorcycle is very upright, and because of this it is very easy to ride this motorcycle. The second aspect of the Scrambler is the agility of the bike. If you want to cut through traffic, it just goes and feels very agile, very nimble. In fact, it doesn't feel its weight. Like, it is a heavy motorcycle at over 180 kg, but when you're riding the bike in city traffic, it doesn't feel its weight. The clutch action also is light. The gearbox also works very well. So in terms of the overall usage, it is very comfortable and approachable. And a special shout out to the suspension also, with 150 mm of travel at front and rear. On most of the broken roads and undulation, it does a good job. Only on sharp speed breakers, take it a bit easy. So overall, the Scrambler still has the ethos of the OG Scrambler, which is approachable and comfortable. So this L-twin engine is still air cooled and doesn't get liquid cooling. Coupled with that, Mumbai's humidity, and it is a recipe for disaster. I started the commute on this motorcycle in Mumbai's traffic for 20 minutes. I could feel the motorcycle heating up, and all over the motorcycle I could feel the heat, but I kept on going. 10 minutes more and then I couldn't even sit on the motorcycle because the frame, the tank, everything was feeling so hot that I was keeping my legs on the foot pegs and splitting it wide so that I can ride this motorcycle. But few minutes more into the ride, I had to stop because the motorcycle had got so hotted up. The engine was almost steaming. Then I had to wait on the sidelines of the road for like 15 minutes for the motorcycle to cool down, for myself to cool down because I was sweating a lot in the riding gear, and then I had to proceed my ride back home. So in terms of city commute in dense traffic, the Scrambler is not a proper motorcycle, especially given the hot and humid conditions in our country. Maybe in Europe it would work, but for Indian city conditions, I think the engine heat is just unbearable. Now, Ducatis aren't supposed to be affordable, and this is where the Scrambler comes into the picture. It was positioned as an entry-level offering in the world of Ducati, and because of its competitive pricing, it has been a great success story. Now, coming back to the Scrambler Nightshift, it isn't affordable, in fact far from it. At 13,50,000 rupees ex-showroom, it is almost 3 lakh rupees more expensive than the base variant of the Ducati Scrambler, so it doesn't offer great value. If you still are stuck up with a Scrambler, you want to go for a Ducati Scrambler, our suggestion would be to go for the base variant of the Ducati Scrambler, because at this price point of the Nightshift, it is very close to the Ducati Monster, a motorcycle which is legendary and iconic. In fact, it was the Monster that safeguarded Ducati from going bankrupt in the early 90s. And not to forget, the Monster gets a more modern liquid-cooled engine, gets better features, and if you want a naked motorcycle from Ducati, I think the Monster still remains the template and is absolutely legendary. And as for the Scrambler Nightshift, it is a good looking motorcycle, it is exciting to ride, but it doesn't offer much value, and for the same pricing, I think the Ducati Monster will be a better buy.